Welcome to the WealthGenius Podcast. The WealthGenius Podcast. Strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The WealthGenius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Quadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The WealthGenius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Donalta, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, my good friend. We know each other for years and now we get to work together. It's my pleasure and I'm so excited to have you here and get to know more about your story. I know a little bit about your story, but I don't think you've shared, we didn't go deep really. And I'm hoping you go deep here. Right?
Okay.
And
I'll dig.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because we want to know. We want to know, the myth, the legend. We want to know all about it. And we want to have a conversation about short-term rentals. We want to have a conversation about midterm rentals, arbitrage. So this is going to be very exciting. And so if you're just tuning in, you better stay to the end because Donalta, are you bringing the goods?
I'm bringing all the goods. I'm spilling the tea. Be ready.
Nice. So let's go back to the beginning. How did all this stuff start? How did you get into business? What excites you about real estate in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So real estate has always made sense to me. I remember, I think it was like high school. My goal was to own a triplex. And it was actually a friend of mine. His dad was an entrepreneur and he had started multiple businesses that failed. He went bankrupt multiple times. And I was talking to the dad and the mom. And I remember the mom saying that, despite the troubles that they had with business, they always did really well in real estate. And they had, bought new builds and were able to kind of, level up with their real estate game, make some money on the new builds and move into bigger and better properties. And, just coming from an immigrant family as a first generation Canadian, home ownership was really important to my family. And it was a big deal when we got our first house in Mississauga.
How old were you?
I was probably I was in grade 6. Yeah. So we moved out of, one of the rougher neighborhoods at the time, Parkdale, and moved to Mississauga. And it was a completely just different world. So yeah, that's kind of when I realized that, hey, there's something to it. One, just having the value coming from my family of how important owning a home was. And then, that conversation I had with my friend's parents really kind of sat with me and made me realize the potential that real estate had. I mean, despite the father's entrepreneurship and the challenges they were having, they were always successful in real estate. And so that kind of made sense to me. I was like, people are always going to need a place to live. And, we came from renting before and I was like, hey, if I could own a triplex one day, this is me in my 15-year-old brain. I'm like, if I can own a triplex one day, I can live in one unit for free and rent out the other two and I'll be set for life. And that was my goal in life, to own a triplex.
How old were you when you had this goal?
I was about 15 years old. That's when it really resonated with me that, hey, this is the thing I needed to do. And I remember, when I met my husband, one of our first dates, we were supposed to go out and I was like, actually, I have this meeting with this real estate agent. And we were
Did
young
you go
too.
on a walkthrough on your first date?
It was, no, the second date. It was the second date.
Okay.
But yeah, it was interesting too. Cause being young, it was something I was really, really interested in, getting involved in real estate. And I found it really difficult too to even find an agent that would take me serious.
Wow.
When going on walkthroughs, right? We were about 26 at the time. And yeah, we found an agent that was willing to actually take us on walkthroughs. And it was our third date. We went on a couple and we were looking at some really sketchy properties in Toronto. And that's where it sort of took off from there. We just kind of both knew that this is what we wanted to do.
I think that's really good dating advice. This is what I always tell people. If you guys are going to, get together, make sure you check each other's credit, okay? And also why not go to some open houses together, and see what people like. You get to, I don't know, I never thought about it, but it does make a lot of sense. You get to see what people's tastes are like, what the future looks like, or, how, what kind of houses you guys are going to live in. And so that's really neat,
Yeah. And it was interesting too. I think that's why he proposed, because a few agents had said, you need to marry this one, because we were looking at like different properties in Toronto with basement apartments. And I was like, again, my goal was a triplex. So I was like, no, I will live in the basement and have somebody pay for my house. And the agents were like, yeah, buddy, like you need to marry this one. So yeah, it got me a ring out of the deal.
What's the number one advice that you would have for young people, early 20s today, in terms of real estate?
Don't wait, buy something. I bought my first house on a credit card. I put the down payment on a credit card, and people thought I was absolutely crazy. I purchased a new build, and I did not know how I was going to come up with a down payment. But I knew that, there was about a 2-year waiting period, and at the time, most builders were delayed. So I was banking on it being delayed. I put the down payment on a credit card and took the 2 years and then some to pay it off. And it was the best decision I have ever made.
Yeah, get in the game.
Get in the game.
Yeah. One thing that I would tell, young people, if you have first of all, if you have brothers or sisters, early 20s, pool your money together. Figure out how to get in the game. And then the other thing is, if you have friends, right? Friends, pool money together, get in the game, get in the game in any way possible. Credit cards, investment cards, like I like to call them. So, that I love all those things. And so how did this transition into being the short-term, mid-term rental queen? How did that all come about?
Yeah, it happened solely by accident. And the story essentially was, we were flipping a couple properties and it didn't go as planned. They went over budget, over time.
And that never happens.
Never. No, it never happens, right? At least that's what we thought based on HGTV. But right, so that was the reality of the situation. And at the time, we had a property that we had rented out, and
so those were your first investments, flipping? That's how you got into
I
the
think
game?
that was a few years after. We had started out initially sort of house hacking. So, not even house hacking. We had started out, just buying properties, living in them for a few years. And then, I didn't even understand what a BRRRR was. Like we were selling and then buying additional properties. And then that was the first time we actually refinanced the property and bought another investment property to flip. And the initial property that we had refinanced, we were renting it out, and they ended up using our property as a rooming house. Yeah, it was, we had done a beautiful new reno, thought we would rent it out. And within 6 months, the place totally, it was dilapidated. We had shown before and after to the police. We were trying to get them out. And the police were like, is this even the same property? Right? It was terrible.
Wow.
So there was a lot of fear when we did complete our renovation. Fear for multiple reasons. One, because we weren't able to get market value. Well, the market value rent that was available wasn't able to cover the mortgage. Our realtor that we listed it actually ended up asking us, hey, can I just delist this property? Because I don't want it sitting on my name. Like I can't even get it rented at the price you guys want. And we knew that we had to sell at some point. We didn't know the exact date. And we figured, how do we keep our property in this new condition, this perfect condition that we've renovated in, and make the amount that we need to cover the refinance? So we tried out short-term rentals and never looked back. It worked like a charm, and now we do it in all our properties.
Wow. And so there's always changes. One of the things that concern me with short-term rentals is you're always at the mercy of the municipality, right? Of whatever change they want to make. How do you navigate through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is just knowing the rules and figuring out how to navigate and play within it. And that was something I actually learned from a coworker of mine. You know, I was a corporate consultant for a number of years, and we used to travel. We used to have like expense accounts and all of that stuff. And I remember talking to a colleague, and he was like, he was saying that, I was like, how were you able to expense that? How are you able to do this? And he's like, he read the policy in detail so he could figure out how to work around it. And that is something that I generally apply, is just really understanding the policies, understanding what's allowed, what's not allowed. And it's, you know, kind of sometimes even playing in that gray area.
Yeah. And so that takes me to like the next step of the business, right? Like international. And what really, really fascinates me is this idea that you can profit from properties all over the world without owning these properties, right? And so I want to know a little bit about that and how all that started, because it's like, okay, everybody can wrap their head around short-term rentals. That's fine. You know, there's many different platforms and navigating through the you know, all the legalities of the municipalities and all that. But usually people just kind of tend to focus in their backyard, right? Or maybe a cottage. But, you know, to go abroad and some people, they would say, that's really, you know, you got to have some balls, right? To be able to do this. There's language barriers. There's, you know, different cultures, and, you know, so I want to know all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I love people. One of the things that I've done a lot at work is building great teams, right? And I think that's really important in real estate, no matter what strategy you're using. And I've been able to foster really great relationships, great connections with people to help support me in my international endeavors. And yeah, for me, it's really a lifestyle play. I always had the goal of, you know, having these beautiful properties in these different locations that I could travel to. And, you know, as I learned more about real estate and investing, I had to find a way to turn this goal into a possibility, right? Knowing that there was a potentially limited capital available to buy all these properties international, because a lot of these different countries, they require...
Is that what you were trying to do at first? You thought,
I was.
You know, I want to figure out how to buy properties all over the world.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of the countries require you to pay cash, right? They don't have a mortgage structure similar to the way we have here. And the interest rates, we think interest rates are high now. The interest rates are very high there, and historically have been. And so, you know, I had an opportunity kind of come along. Somebody's like, hey, you know, you can rent this property and use it as a short-term rental. And that was it for me. I was like, okay, this is the model. And it's actually really great, not just for rental, but for finding creative opportunities, creative financing opportunities, because again, a lot of these countries, they require cash to buy the properties. And so creative financing is the norm. Not only can you get into it for arbitrage, you can also do seller financing deals, because they don't have the typical bank structures that we have. And just, I feel like realizing that, you know, was kind of gold. I'm happy to share that.
So how does the first of all, there's not every country is going to be English speaking country, right? You speak
English only. Only
so
English.
Yeah, so that's kind of my point. So first of all, there's culture that goes with a language. There's in how people operate, and you know, how do you navigate through like cultures and languages,
people and relationships.
Numbers. I guess numbers the international language.
No, I really think it's people and the relationships. Aside from, you know, the value of the property, I could not do what I do without my team. I've been able to build really great relationships with people that have been able to help and support me. And no matter what you're doing in real estate, it's a people business. Everything is a people business. So I think, you know, the key for people who want to maybe invest internationally is to develop relationships with a realtor who's local. And again, nowadays English is the universal language. A lot of people speak English and another language. So finding that, those one or two people that do speak English and you can sort of develop a relationship with, partner with, and find that common goal. Realtors want to rent and sell properties, and I want to buy and rent them, right? So we have that in common. And then, just kind of going from there, understanding that both of our businesses can grow and starting and building a relationship based on that.
What's one major obstacle that you had to overcome in order to invest internationally?
I think the major obstacles are the taxes. Just, dealing with government.
Like tax structures.
Yes, dealing with government,
is it
tax
mostly
structure.
on the Canadian side, or is it like both sides?
On both sides. Again, all the different countries have different rules in terms of how they allow foreigners to invest, and different tax structures. So depending on the location, again, those partnerships are key, right? I can't just go in and invest on my own as a foreign national, right? Places like Mexico, for example, they really want to keep a lot of that for the Mexican people. So it requires trust, relationships, partnerships, legal agreements in order to get up and running and going. It's really a people business.
So let's say I show up in Brazil, okay, and I want to do this strategy. What's the first thing I do?
Call a realtor.
So the realtor is like your quarterback.
Yes.
Okay, so that I like that. By the way, it's a perfect segue into what I was going to mention. You are our track lead in WealthGenius for short-term, mid-term rentals, and we're doing amazing boot camps and events together, and we're going to go all over North America together. What should people expect when they come to your boot camp, and especially if they want to learn about short-term rentals?
Absolutely. I think what people should expect is full transparency, right? I'm here to teach.
Give up the goods.
Yeah, give up the goods. Yeah, I'm here to teach.
Boy.
I'm here to empower, right? My goal is to show and inspire people on how they can live the life of their dreams. Whether that is, traveling annually with your family to multiple destinations, having more income and cash flow, potentially leaving your 9-to-5, or just starting a side business that, can help you generate more income in these tough economic times. That's what I'm here for, is to show people how to do this thing, right? Irrespective of whatever their goals are, I will give you the goods. Here to empower, connect, and liberate the people. I feel like it's my social responsibility and my purpose in life to help not just Canadians, but mostly Canadians, because I'm a Canadian, but help Canadians live the life of their dreams. I feel like I was an IT professional, and I very much understand, that world as well.
The corporate world. Yeah.
And the ever-changing demands of, constant upskilling, and, being a high performer, and, just dealing with work-life balance. And I want to empower people to spend more time with their families, enjoy more, have their dream vacations, have more fun.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite part about your life?
Is the location freedom. I can be wherever I want to be, whenever I want to be there, and my business continues. I think
I love that.
Yeah. Actually, I don't even know if that's the best part. I actually think the best part is the boot camps and the coaching. Seeing that.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear.
Seeing the light bulb go on in people's eyes, when they're like, oh, they have that aha moment, and they're like, I can do this. And they see how, the life of their dreams is literally one decision away.
One thing about your corporate background, and I think this is a very important question, you transitioned from corporate to entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest obstacle?
I think the biggest obstacle is income. As a high income earner in corporate, it can be hard to wrap your head around how you are able to leave your job, right? And replace that income, replace that 9 to 5.
Well, first of all, they anchor you and you think you're getting this salary,
Yes.
but they're really taking half.
They are taking half. And then that's the biggest thing, is kind of wrapping your head around that, right? Like if they give you 100,000 in Canada, 43% goes to income tax. That gives you 57, right? You want to start a business, you can make 60 and you're better off, and you're better off, right? And so it's just wrapping your head around that. Also, betting on your own horse. In these jobs and these companies, we're given opportunities, challenges, right? And you're given a new opportunity or a new challenge to see, like, can you make this happen for your organization? And you're rewarded if you do, and you're penalized if you don't. And in my experience, in my career, I've never failed on a project, and I'm like, it's time for me to bet on my own horse, right? If I'm going to stay up late and, not go to this family event because I'm working on this project at work, if I put that energy into my own endeavors, what could I do, right? The income potential is unlimited. It's infinite, right? Versus at work, you make these sacrifices, and if there's an organization change, you may get laid off. I've seen, that happen to people. Or, they say, okay, you'll get a promotion and you'll get the raise. And in my line of work, it was like you had to be acting in the role. But, there's 20 people looking for that one spot, right? And you may or may not get it. And I feel like sometimes, that's kind of what, gets people upset, kind of breeds a little bit resentment. But, you can bet on your own horse, and you're already doing amazing things. Like the companies that we're working for, they rely on us, and we're the ones producing for them day in and day out. And if they believe in us, right? They give us these opportunities, they give us more training, they promote us. And if we put that belief into ourselves, sky's the limit.
How do you adjust yourself? Most people, when they have a job, their life is kind of set up like when the job pays, this is when all the bills are paid, right? It's kind of like they're on a 2-week, as money comes in, money goes out, right? And it's almost like you become a slave to the bills and the mortgage, the car payment, and the phone bill, and the cable bill, and the this and the that. And so how do people adjust themselves to now being an entrepreneur where money doesn't always come in exactly, you can't, it's not like, it's coming in like a salary. And the other thing is, most people, when they're employed, they think that there's this like sense of security, not realizing that it's really, you're still in business, but you just have one customer. It's your employer, right? And if that employer no longer wants to do business with you, you're kind of like on your own. And so what's like the mind, first of all, the mindset has to change in terms of stepping into this new world of being an entrepreneur, right? And then how do you transition from because it's almost like a treadmill, right? Like they got you, or what do they call it? A hamster wheel, because it's like the bills are due. And so you got to kind of say, I'm going to let go. Is it like savings that you need to have on the side? Like kind of how do you make that transition?
Yeah. So for me, I did have a little bit of savings set aside in order to start. But the great thing about short and midterm rentals is I get paid every day, multiple times a day.
Nice.
So
I like that.
Yeah. So
is there like a little sound on your phone when money comes in?
No, I turned it off. Because it was getting distracted. It was getting distracted. But yeah, multiple times a day, I'm getting paid. And so that's no longer something I really have to worry about. Yeah. Right. And they also say, millionaires have multiple streams of income. So it's just a matter of, being a student, investing in yourself and learning how to monetize your skill set and whatever that is, right? Whether it's sharing it with people, just in different ways, adding additional services that you can offer, and just creating that income stream for yourself, right? And so that's the great thing about short and midterm rentals, is that we're always getting paid, and it really doesn't take that long once you start getting bookings and the money is coming in to be able to see that you can definitely replace your 9 to 5.
And we'll show you that at our boot camp.
We will show you.
Question number 2, because we talked about short term, and we always mix in midterm, short term, midterm. So what's the difference? Right? Is it like 4 months? Is it 5 months? What makes it really midterm, and why should people be looking at midterm?
Absolutely. So short-term rentals are considered anything under 28 days, right? So that can be a week, a night, where midterms are 28 days or more. So that can be as much as a month. It can be 6 months. It can even be just under a year. And I love to mix and combine the strategies because in every market, there's a high and a low season. And it's just a matter of, catering and pivoting to the type of guest, or we can use the word loosely, tenant that will serve the need at the time. So in high season, when travel's booming, I usually do short-term strategies, and in lower season we focus on relocation and people traveling for business that may need to stay a little bit longer, because that ensures that the income stays consistent, and that we are always covered.
So what do you prefer? Because I'm assuming short term is more income, but there's probably more work involved. So do you prefer midterm or short term?
Oh no, I love them both, and I don't have to do the work because we have people for that.
Okay,
that's
good,
my thing.
Good.
We have people for that, and that's one of the things that I really want to impress upon people is because the rumor, and it's true. Short-term rentals, midterm rentals can also be a lot of work if you're doing it yourself. But I don't think it makes sense to leave your 9 to 5 and create another job for yourself.
I love that. We don't need other jobs.
No, we don't need other jobs, right? So I'm here to empower people to start businesses that give them that time freedom, right? And just, the people that will enable and help you to do that so that your business is running while you're chilling on a beach somewhere.
I know that you're too inspired to just chill on the beach for the rest of your life.
No, not the rest of my life. Just for a week here and there. A week here and there. A week here and there.
I love it. So build teams, build systems, connect with good people, connect with realtors on site. And so what are your top business tips?
My top business tips are, and this is a very interesting question because it's actually something I have struggled with, is being authentic and true to your own values and beliefs. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, we question and we doubt ourselves, like, is this the right thing? Is this the right strategy? Is somebody else, able to knows more than me? And I think the main thing is to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust your gut. All of the skills and the experience that you have brought you to where you are and gotten you to a certain level of success. And trust that what you're going to do is the right thing for you. Because, I've made the mistake of being flexible in terms of my policies or my goals, because whether it's like when working with people in the business and they suggested this and they suggested that. And I ended up going right back to what I was doing before because it worked. And I think it's just having that confidence in yourself. A lot of it is just mindset work. But yeah, just that trust in yourself and your intuition, that you are tapped into the vision that only you have and and that everything will line up, That's it.
I love it. Thank you for coming. I wanted you on this show. I was not going to have another episode without you. So thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. And I'd love for you to share with us kind of like, what was that inspirational quote that really created a turning point for you, or something that really inspires you that could inspire someone that's watching right now?
The major turning point for me was Bob Proctor. If you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And
if you can hold it in your head,
you can hold it in your hand.
Okay, I love it.
And the real meaning behind that is that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Everything, all creation starts in the mind. And if you were given the vision. It's something only you have, and only you know how to achieve it and execute it. Of course, there's support from other people that will help. But if you've seen it, if it came to you, it's a possibility for you. So that's it. Just believe in yourself, man.
Woo! I love it. Donalta, queen, the short-term, mid-term queen. And you've taught us a lot, and you taught us how we're going to leave our jobs. And mostly the first thing we got to do is head to one of your boot camps or
100.
connect with you. And by the way, underneath this video, you're going to see all the information, how they can get a hold of you. Thank you so much. Love you, love you, love you.
Love you too.
Let's go. Bye-bye. Woo!
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius podcast. If you have a question or comment about something you heard today, reach out to the Godfather via social media or email him anytime. All that information is in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Wealth Genius podcast. The Wealth Genius podcast. Until next time, see you at the top.